Most people think CIA agents have photographic memory. They imagine spies flipping through classified dossiers once, then remembering every detail forever. Names, addresses, phone numbers, entire operational plans. Sounds impossible. But here's the truth. Most CIA agents start with completely normal memory. Same brain you have. Same 3-pound blob of neurons sitting in your skull. The difference? They use a memory system so efficient it feels unfair. A system designed for one brutal requirement. Memorize entire files fast. Because in the field, you can't carry documents. You get searched, phones get confiscated, computers get hacked. Everything has to live in your head. And intelligence agencies figured something out decades ago. Your brain can store massive amounts of information. The problem? You were never taught how to encode it. Schools train you to reread, to highlight, to cram. All useless. CIA training flips the entire process. Instead of reading information, they compress it, encode it, then retrieve it under pressure. 3 steps. And once you understand them, you'll never study the same way again. Chapter 1. Compression. Your working memory is weak. Very weak. Psychologist George Miller discovered something called the magical number 7. Your brain can only hold about 7 pieces of information at once. 7, not 70, not 700. 7. Which means if someone hands you a page with 50 facts on it, your brain chokes immediately. Too much cognitive load. Average people try to memorize everything individually. Names, numbers, dates, addresses, each one separate. That's like trying to carry groceries with your arms full. Everything falls. Intelligence training does the opposite. They compress data. Thousands of details become a few patterns. Think about how surgeons memorize diseases. A beginner sees symptoms. Confusion, rapid breathing, sweet breath smell. 3 separate facts, hard to remember. A trained doctor sees one pattern. Diabetic ketoacidosis. One label, everything compressed. Same idea CIA agents use. Instead of memorizing 50 lines in a dossier, they build what intelligence analysts call a profile script. Example, a normal intelligence file might look like this. Name, Daniel Kovac. Age, 42. Location, Budapest. Occupation, shipping consultant. Known associates, 3 people, phone numbers, travel routes. Meeting locations. Most people try to memorize each detail separately. Wrong approach. CIA trainees compress the file into a narrative pattern. Daniel Kovac becomes shipping consultant operating between Budapest and Vienna, mid-40s. Connected to 3 logistics brokers using 2 primary phone numbers, meeting contacts near the Danube trade corridor. Now instead of 20 details, you remember 1 story. Your brain loves stories. Evolution built it that way. Humans remembered myths long before spreadsheets existed. Psychologists call this chunking, and it increases memory capacity dramatically. Research in chess experts proves this. Grandmasters can remember entire boards after 1 glance. Beginners can't. Not because they have better memory, because they see patterns. Where beginners see 32 pieces, masters see familiar configurations. Chunks. Same with intelligence officers. They train themselves to see information as compressed systems, not isolated facts. But compression alone isn't enough. You can compress information perfectly and still forget it tomorrow, which leads to the second weapon. Chapter 2. Interrogation memory. Most people study like this. Read a page, read it again. Highlight a few sentences. Maybe take notes, then move on. Feels productive, feels like learning. It's not. It's called the illusion of competence. Psychologists explain this in the book, Make It Stick. Recognition tricks your brain. When you reread something, you recognize the words. So your brain thinks you know it. But recognition is not memory. Real memory requires retrieval. You have to pull the information out of your brain without seeing it first. CIA training uses something very close to interrogation, not polite review. Interrogation. Trainees read a file once, then the instructor closes the document and starts asking questions immediately. What's the target's phone number? Where did he travel last month? Who are his known associates? Miss an answer, start again. It's brutal, but it works, because retrieval rewires your brain. Every time you force recall, neural pathways strengthen. Psychologist Robert Bjork calls this a desirable difficulty. Learning feels harder, but retention becomes far stronger. In one famous experiment by Karpicki and Roediger in 2006, students who tested themselves retained 50% more information than students who simply reread the material. 50%, that's massive. Which explains something interesting. CIA training sessions look chaotic, Trainees constantly get questioned, put on the spot, forced to recall details under pressure. Why? Because memory built under stress becomes incredibly durable. The brain releases neurochemicals when mistakes happen. Error signals, they highlight the correct information, like your brain putting a sticky note on the memory. Average students avoid mistakes. CIA trainees chase them. Wrong answers are part of the encoding process. But even interrogation recall isn't enough. You could retrieve information perfectly today and lose half of it tomorrow because your brain has another problem. It leaks. Badly. Chapter 3. The Forgetting Curve. In 1885, a German psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered something brutal. Your brain forgets extremely fast. After one day, you lose about half of what you learned. After a week, up to 90% disappears. Completely gone. Your brain deletes information automatically. Not because it's broken, because it's efficient. If you remembered everything, you'd go insane. So your brain constantly asks one question. Will I need this again? If the answer seems like no, delete. This is why cramming fails. You memorize something for an exam. Then your brain throws it away. CIA training uses a simple solution. Spaced repetition. Instead of reviewing information randomly, they review it right before forgetting happens. Perfect timing. Review too soon? Waste of time. Review too late? You forgot everything. But review at the exact moment before deletion. And the memory strengthens permanently. Medical students use software like Anki for this. Algorithms track when you're about to forget something, then show it to you at the perfect moment. Your brain interprets the struggle to remember as a survival signal. Important information. Keep it. CIA agents don't always use software, but they follow the same principle. Short repeated retrieval sessions. Spread over time. 5 minutes here. 10 minutes there. Dead time becomes memory training. Waiting in line, riding a train. Walking between meetings. Review a few details. Reconstruct a mental file. Information moves from temporary memory into long-term storage. Your brain's hard drive. But here's the thing though. Even compression, interrogation recall, and spaced repetition still aren't the most powerful tool intelligence officers use. The real secret is something ancient, something humans evolved to do thousands of years ago. Chapter 4. The Memory Palace. Before writing existed, humans needed a way to remember massive speeches. Philosophers, politicians, orators. Some could recite hours of content perfectly. How? They used spatial memory. Your brain remembers locations incredibly well. Think about your childhood home. You probably remember every room, where the couch sat, where the fridge was, where snacks were hidden. You didn't study that. Your brain encoded it automatically. CIA training exploits this ability. Agents create what's called a memory palace, a familiar location, your house, your office, a childhood street. Then they attach pieces of information to physical locations. Example, imagine memorizing a dossier. Target name attached to the front door. Phone numbers placed on the kitchen table. Travel routes mapped onto the hallway. Contacts sitting on the living room couch. When you mentally walk through the house, each location triggers the information stored there. It sounds strange, but memory champions use the same technique. The World Memory Championship exists for a reason. Competitors memorize hundreds of numbers, decks of cards, entire lists, not by brute force. By placing information in spatial locations, your brain evolved to remember environments, so they hijack that system. CIA officers do the same. Entire files become mental buildings, rooms filled with encoded data. Walk through the building, and the information appears automatically, which is why experienced agents can recall massive dossiers under pressure. They aren't searching randomly in their memory. They're walking through a location, opening mental doors, and retrieving stored information. But here's the problem though. Even if you learn all these techniques, most people will still fail. Not because the methods don't work, because they refuse to change how they study. They keep highlighting textbooks, rereading notes, watching lectures passively. That doesn't encode memory. It just feels productive. Real learning feels uncomfortable. Your brain should sweat. You should struggle to retrieve information. If it feels easy, you're probably not learning, which is why intelligence agencies train recruits under constant pressure. Simulated interrogations, timed recall drills, rapid questioning. They force the brain to adapt. And it does. Neuroplasticity is real. Your brain rewires based on how you use it. Treat it like a storage device, and it becomes one. Treat it like a scrolling machine, and it becomes TikTok. So, if you want to memorize like intelligence officers, follow the 3 rules. Compress information into patterns. Interrogate your memory with retrieval, and space your reviews before forgetting. Then build memory palaces to store large systems. Do that consistently, and your memory stops feeling limited. It starts feeling engineered. But here's the final twist. Even CIA agents know something else. Memory alone isn't the ultimate advantage. Speed is. Being able to absorb information quickly is what really separates elite learners from everyone else. You might now remember things longer. But if you're still learning slowly, you're still behind. That's why I made the next video explaining the 3 cognitive hacks elite performers use to learn 10 times faster. Once you see them, studying the old way will feel ridiculous. Watch that next.